Ellen Gainsford reporting there feeds very nicely into what Flo is going to talk about in the French press review. François Hollande, the president, in the spotlight again over the elections, of course. Is he going to run or not? And unemployment's a key factor, isn't it?
That's right. Let's take a look at the front page of Les Echos, the business paper today, focusing on that spectacular drop in unemployment, as they're calling it today. You can see this spectacular drop in unemployment, the biggest monthly drop in the last 20 years, but it's too late to save François Hollande, according to Les Echos. Why is that? Well, his track record as president has just been way too catastrophic. Now, what's interesting is he said he would only run again for president if he managed to inverse the unemployment curve. So it seems like this is what's happening with these unemployment figures, but will that actually push him to run for president? That's what everyone wants to know.
I'm quite surprised, actually, because the latest opinion polls have come out. François Hollande is at an all-time low. I mean, he even got close to zero here, didn't he?
That's right. I guess you could say there's a spectacular drop in unemployment and a spectacular drop in François Hollande's opinion rating as well. Let's turn to Le Monde as well. This is it's actually a very widespread survey. They surveyed about 17,000 people, so quite a lot, pretty indicative of the general mood of the country. And get ready for it. According to this poll, only 4% of French people are satisfied by François Hollande's presidency. 4%. Now, to break these down a little bit, 3% say that they're pretty satisfied. 1% say that they're very satisfied. 1%. What makes you kind of wonder, who in the world are these 1%? Maybe he got his friends to vote here. Now, what's interesting is to see how this rating has evolved. Back in November 2015, he was at 12%, and that has dropped progressively over the past couple of months. It seems like French people are not very happy with the way he's dealt with the aftermath of the terrorist attacks. And what's interesting is those that are dissatisfied in François Hollande's presidency, that's been pretty constant and rising. It's been, you can see it's the red figure there on the top. It's at 70%, gradually going up from 51% back in November.
Inevitably, perhaps looking at that flow, many people are now wondering whether François Hollande should really stand in these elections, even his closest allies. That's
right. Let's take a look at the front page of L'Opinion today. They wonder who in the world wants candidate Hollande. It seems like one by one, his trusted allies are jumping ship. Now, you can see this photo montage here. It's essentially people who have been close to François Hollande, loyal aides over the past couple of years, and you can see they're being kind of X'd off one by one. For instance, you have the former economy minister, Emmanuel Macron, the head of the Socialist Party, Jean-Christophe Cambadélis. The only ones, you can see there are a couple with green checks. These are the people that still want François Hollande to run for president. These are these so-called socialist rebels, the Frondeurs. You have Arnaud Montebourg, Jean-Luc Mélenchon. They're hoping that Hollande will run so that they can destroy him in the election, because many of these people are planning to run as well. It's payback time, according to L'Opinion. L'Opinion says this whole scenario is very much like House of Cards.
I think I know the question that the viewer is asking, the million-dollar question. Who should represent the Socialist Party in the 2017 presidential election if it isn't François Hollande?
That's right. It does seem like the Socialist Party is kind of scrambling for a solution. Several names are being tossed around. You have the ecology minister, Ségolène Royal, who already ran for president, you remember, back in the day. You also have the former justice minister, Christiane Taubira. We were talking about her yesterday. And then chief among them, you have the prime minister, Manuel Valls. He's really the man of the day. You can see this is a great cartoon by Plantu in Le Monde. You can see Le Plombé, the guy who is really sinking to the bottom there with, that's François Hollande, and Le Plan B, the plan B, a very eager-looking Manuel Valls here.
Yeah, Libération actually tries to get into Manuel Valls' head today,
That's right. There's a great front page for Libération today. It's not being John Malkovich, it's being Manuel Valls. You can see all these little Manuel Valses. Libé really does try to get into his head because he's facing some tough questions. In fact, Libé says that he's kind of in agony. He doesn't know what to do, what should be his next step, because on the one hand, he could stay loyal to François Hollande and support him, even if he runs for president, even if only 1% say they're very satisfied with the president. Or, and this might also be a form of loyalty, he could try to save François Hollande by running instead of Hollande, kind of avoiding that kind of humiliation for François Hollande. Does he really want to do that, though? That's what Libération wonders, and says that Manuel Valls himself is really wondering if this is a good idea for him, because he is playing his political future with the decision that he's going to take. He could fall on his sword by doing this, trying to save his master, if you will. And if he did that, it could be the end of his political career.
Yeah, because according to opinion polls in Le Figaro, Valls doesn't stand much of a chance either.
That's right. If we take a look at the front page of Le Figaro, they're saying that French people want neither Hollande nor Valls. And in fact, Le Figaro, it must be said, had some fun today. They tested different scenarios, different candidate combinations of, if the election were held today and it was François Hollande with Nicolas Sarkozy, or if it was Manuel Valls with Alain Juppé, all sorts of different combinations. Regardless of the combination, though, be it Valls or Hollande, they would lose in the first round of the election, according to this poll in Le Figaro. They would come in fourth or fifth place. I mean, it's quite a slap in the face for the Socialists. And in fact, if we take a look at the editorial on the front page of Le Figaro, you can see these are those combinations I was telling you about. But the editorial in Le Figaro today says that there are bonnet blanc and blanc bonnet. That's a French expression to say that, it's six of one half, half a dozen the other. They're essentially the same thing. For French people, at least, Manuel Valls or François Hollande are exactly the same thing. And so you can feel like Le Figaro is gloating a little bit today in their editorial. They say, our poll today puts a cold shower on any hopes the left had of avoiding an electoral Waterloo in the upcoming election.
Oh dear. And all this comes as well as papers are also marking the birthday of a former French president.
That's right. This is François Mitterrand, who would have been 100 years old today. Now, he had, of course, an incredible career. He was elected twice to the Élysée Palace, and at the time there were 7-year terms. So he was president for 14 years in France, quite a long time. This is a fun article in 20 Minutes that says that, he would have a lot of advice for candidates today, and they imagine him as an electoral coach with a word of advice for every single candidate. For instance, Alain Juppé, who's seen as not being very cool or fun, well, he should really seek out artists, according to 20 Minutes. And the word of advice for François Hollande, because this is what's interesting, from one François to another François, is unity is force. He says François Hollande should really get his political family together if he wants any chance of having a political future.
Having listened to the rest of your paper review, I'm not sure that's going to happen, Flo. But anyway, he can try, I suppose. Flo Villeneuve with the French papers on France 24. She'll be back in a couple of hours, of course.